We did close to $59,000 in our first year on the Faire Wholesale platform. And although I am not an expert in Faire, as we've only been on the platform for a year, I do have some tips that I think will help you out if you are just getting started. So the first tip that I have for you, and I think this is probably the most important thing out of anything that you could possibly do, and that is to make sure that your main photo and your listings in general are completely to the best that you can possibly get them. So let me show you an example of some of our products. So if I click on this one right here, I like this one because I was able to add in some video. So it does take a lot of time and a lot of energy to create these listings. Creating listings that have the videos, that have the mock-ups of where I'm adding on the labels, all the photos, the descriptions, all of that. It does take a good amount of time, but it's well worth it. And you want to have something that is eye-catching, because just like Etsy, Faire is a marketplace, so all of your products are going to be side by side with other competitors, and you want your products to really stand out. So this is something that I really want you to make sure that you spend the most time on this part. This goes for retail as well, but since we're talking about Faire and wholesale, the main photo that you have has to be eye-catching, has to be something that's going to want somebody to click on it and want that product. And what I have decided to do with all of our products, as you can see, is I have created mock-ups for all of our different sizes. Now, this is not something that you have to do. There are a lot of shops that don't do this and will have kind of slightly different photos for every scent and size that they have. This just seemed like the most efficient use of my time because of how many different products I am adding on. So as you can see, we have a total of 214 products on our Faire shop of different sizes and different scents. And all of the photos, when it's one certain size and one certain product, it has the same look. And this is something that I personally do like, but again, you don't have to do that. But I do have a video in case you're curious of how I make all of my mock-ups. But this is the most important part, is your main photo. You really want to showcase your product. You don't want your product to be hiding behind anything. You don't want it to be to where you are having, you know, a bunch of little planters and it's kind of off in the distance and you're not sure, is she selling the planters or is she selling the candle or is she selling the coasters? You want your product to be front and center. As you can see, it's not a completely white background. There's not like completely, you know, you can tell that there's other things in the background, but you know, looking at this, that the candle is the main focus and I am selling the candle. And I added in a couple different, you know, types of photos here to see the candle. And all of these are mock-ups to where I just changed out the label for the scent name. And again, that just makes it the easiest for me when I'm going through all of the different scents that we offer. And it just makes it a lot easier to go on and do that. But I went on and just, you know, added in some information about the candle, information about the scent, a little bit more information about the products that we use. I keep it pretty simple and straight to the point, but I want to give enough to where the retailer is able to get an idea of what it smells like, how big the product is, and a little bit more about the ingredients that we use to make the product. I personally really like the look of how kind of brighter and more bold the products look, since they take up most of the image and you can really tell what it is. Even with something like our smaller candles, I really wanted to add in what the candle looked like when it's burning right next to it so that you could see that it's a smaller candle. Whereas something like this, you can tell that this candle is a lot bigger than this one just by looking at them. But again, just to be able to look at the products and know exactly what the wholesaler is, what the buyer is actually selling. That's something that retailers look for, is we have to know that we are going to be on page, I don't know, whatever of the search results. And when something pops up, we really want to try to get that retailer's attention. And recently, I actually did have a retailer send us a message saying that our products were eye-catching and really caught their attention. And that is definitely something that I am looking for with our photos. Am I saying that our photos are the best photos ever? No, but I do think that they're nice photos. And if you have to spend hundreds of dollars on a local photographer to get those good photos, I think that is probably one of the best uses of your money that you have to invest in your business. If you don't invest in anything else or outsource anything else for your business, the photography is the most important thing, because when it comes to candles, we can't have our customers smell them ahead of time before they make a purchase unless they're reaching out for samples, and then it's kind of a longer process. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to place the order without ever smelling it, and that goes for the photos and the description, and just for them to actually see what the product looks like without actually having it in person for them to look at. My second tip is to try to connect with the retailers that purchase from you. I had heard in the very beginning of, before we ever really got going on the Faire platform, I had watched videos of people saying that it's very kind of, you don't have a good connection with the retailers, and they just kind of buy from you and they don't buy from you again. And our goal with every single retailer is to build that connection. Whether that's, we always send out a message to thank them, let them know that we're going to send them some samples, or whatever it is, try to get that conversation going. And then a lot of the times I will also look them up, get familiar with who they are, maybe follow them on Instagram, and really try to build that connection, especially if they have photos of our products in their shop. I love to repost that on Instagram, and it really, again, helps to keep our brand name in the front of their mind of, okay, so they're engaging a lot more with my company and my brand. So I want to kind of keep that connection going, and they're sharing about us, so I'm going to keep purchasing and sharing about them. And, that was definitely something that I had heard in the beginning, is that Faire, it's kind of like you don't get that connection with the retailers, but it's a pretty good connection for what it is, given that we aren't able to actually go into their shop and see the candles there. We try to do the best we can with keeping that connection and giving the best possible customer service that we can with the situation that we have of Faire just kind of being like a marketplace of, kind of like an Etsy. Like, you don't really have like a huge connection with the customers that are purchasing from you from Etsy. So it's similar, but because we want those repeat buyers, those repeat customers coming back to us, that is what we strive for. So instead of just always trying to get new retailers, which we would love that, and we do love that and look for that, keeping the retailers that we already have coming back to us and purchasing from us over and over again is a huge goal. And then the third tip that I have for you is to make sure that you're still going to be profitable after the Faire fees. So if you're not familiar, because Faire is a marketplace like Etsy, they do take a commission off of every sale that you get if they are the ones who brought the retailer to you. They do have something called Faire Direct. So that basically allows you to get 0% commission taken from every sale, because you were the person who brought that retailer onto the platform, and you're just doing your transaction through the Faire platform. Now, it's extremely important for you to make sure before getting on Faire that you have that margin there, so that you don't end up being disappointed or frustrated because of how much is being taken from you and you're not making anything afterwards. We don't want you working for free. So just do the math, figure out and make sure that your pricing actually makes sense for being on the Faire platform, and how much money you're actually going to be making after you figure out how much you're making typically, and then it's 50% that you're selling your products at, and then Faire takes 15% of that of every sale. So you have to make sure that you're actually going to be profitable and that it's actually going to be worth it for you. Keep in mind that if you are ever curious about more information on wholesale, the buyer always pays for shipping. Unless you're offering free shipping, the buyer always pays, so you don't have to worry about paying for shipping on top of that. So I did want to throw that out there, because I know a lot of people are confused about how shipping works, and I feel like I should probably do an updated information on wholesale and all that, because I've gotten more questions on it, because it's such a huge part of our business now, that this is something that I know a lot more than I used to. And I remember when I would always talk about wholesale and wanting to get into it, and I had no idea about any of it. And I've already have more ideas on how I want to really build that connection with the retailers a lot more and make it easier for them to sell our products. So doing like wholesale marketing materials that I'm looking into getting designed and sending out to the retailers, that I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do that. But that's something that I'm wanting to do in the future, because I think that these top tips will make it not necessarily easier for you to be successful, but it will guide you in it will give you a much better chance of being successful and making sales on the wholesale platform, and potentially repeat sales from retailers that already purchased from you and actually making money. So it's basically about being noticed and being seen and getting that initial sale from a retailer. And then from there, you want to nurture that retailer and really give great customer service and get them to want to return and purchase more from you. And then you also want to make sure that amongst all that you're actually making money and all of this is actually worth it for you. But with that, I am going to end today's video right here. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave it a big thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at MemoryBoxCandleCo, and I will see you in my next video.